What's up, everyone? This is Sohile Ali coming at you from the editing room. Just currently working on the latest episode of the Sohile Ali Show, the podcast where I interview interesting guests from all walks of life, each with their own stories to tell. I'm super pumped to be sharing this latest episode of my good friend, stand-up comedian and actor based in Chicago, Zaid Fouzi. He's incredible. Be sure to check him out. We had a great hour-long conversation over Zoom and really excited to share that with you all. Unfortunately, I won't be in this video. I had a technical difficulty that somehow my zoom end of the camera did not get recorded. But hey, you know what? It works out better this way. You get all Zaid, none of me in the way. But I appreciate you all watching. You can also listen to it on Anchor and Spotify, of course, as always. So apologies to fans on that, but really hope you enjoy my interview still with Zaid Fouzi. Zaid Fouzi, welcome to the Sohile Ali Show. Thank you so much for your time. I'm really looking forward to talking to you today, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Really appreciate you having me. Been looking forward to this for a while.
Likewise, man. Likewise. I know you're back at home in Chicago right now. You had a long drive home from your show in St. Louis, so good to see you up and at it here. And yeah, I always like to share with my audience, the ones listening and watching, the relationship I have with my guests, whether it's someone I've looked up to for a long time or someone I have mutual respect, admiration for. And that's the case for us. You're someone, for those watching, Zaid is someone that I always knew of at IU. We were both students at IU at the same time. This is before I even started comedy anyway, but I knew of Zaid from his work in sketch comedy and as a stand-up. And our paths just like brushed. We never quite met each other
Yeah,
while at IU. We had every single thing going for us. It just, the universe said, not yet. And then we always kept up with each other. Around 2 years ago, we did an IG live together, like mid-pandemic. It was an Afghan and an Arab walking to a live, and we had some fun there. And basically, I was like, this is basically a podcast interview, what we did on IG.
yeah,
But yeah, sure, I got to hear your story. But here, I really want to be able to share that. So thank you for the time, and just want to jump into how have your last few weeks been? Because I just keeping up with your Instagram posts from shows, traveling. How are you still staying awake right now?
yeah. Coffee. So if you see me sipping on this, that's what this is. Coffee's a big help. No, the last few weeks have been an absolute blessing, man. It's been a really fun time. Been doing shows all over. I was in at the start of the month. I was in Miami. I had a show down in Miami.
Right.
Never performed there before, so I was at the Villain Theater. Really beautiful stand-up community down there welcomed me, and I was on their show. A week later was in Indianapolis for Muslims of the World as part of the tour with my comedy group Terminal 5 Comedy. And then the day after the Indianapolis show, I flew to Amman, Jordan, to go visit some family, spent some time there, spent a week in Istanbul, Turkey, just kind of getting away from it all, getting some perspective, kind of, taking a break really for the first time since I graduated. I haven't taken a break like that.
Mm.
Landed on Friday, and then Saturday morning drove down to St. Louis. We had a sold out show in St. Louis. Got back last night, like 4 a.m. So it's been a lot, but it's been all good things and just blessing after blessing, and so I think it's easier to convince yourself to stay awake and keep going forward when it's the good things that are keeping you up. I'm grateful for the exhaustion right now.
Absolutely, exactly. Earned, well earned.
Yes,
I couldn't believe it because I was following your stories. I was like, this guy's he's international right now, and now he's back and he's doing shows. I didn't know if you guys had an international leg of the tour. But have you performed overseas before? Any shows?
I've not. It's a goal of mine. It's a dream of mine. I always tell people I'm willing to go anywhere and do anything for stand up. But I would love to perform. I'd love to perform in the Middle East. That would be like a big feat of mine. I think one thing I'd love to do is like the Dubai Comedy Festival.
Oh,
I have
right
some
on.
friends who have done that, and it looks so much fun. So I think I'm close. Just got to keep growing and keep expanding. But that's definitely a goal of mine.
Well, I'd love to hit on, the group, your touring group, your comedy troupe, Terminal 5. Please explain who Terminal 5 is and how did you got to join?
Yeah, Terminal 5 is a all Muslim stand-up comedy group based out of Chicago. We get the name Terminal 5 from the International Terminal at O'Hare. So there's actually six of us in the group, but Terminal 5 comes from the name. And so, there's six of us, we're all 20-something-year-old Muslim stand-up comedians, from different kind of backgrounds. We have, two of us are from Palestine. I'm from Syria. We have one person from Iraq, one person from India, one person from Pakistan. So we represent a lot of like the Middle East and, South Asian communities there. And one thing that connects us all is us being Muslim. That said, our branding is really important for us to remind people that we are 5 comedians that are Muslim. We are not, 6 comedians that are Muslim. We are not.
You fucked it up. You made it 6.
I fucked it up. That's why I don't get mad at people when they mess it up, because I realize I do that all the time. But we're 6 comics that are Muslim that happen to be Muslim, rather than 6 Muslim comedians, if that makes sense, right? So our whole goal is to share our stories, share our perspectives, and we really come from very different perspectives, very different comedic styles, but in a very beautiful way we can support each other and celebrate each other. So the way I joined the group is it was actually 5 of them, and they had been doing shows for a few years. They all kind of grew up in the Chicago area. And when I decided to start getting back into stand-up after the pandemic, I found 2 of them on Instagram, and I kind of just reached out to them just to network, the same thing that you do. I think that's how you and I first got to talking, was you just reached out to me and we started having a conversation, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I was doing the same thing. I was reaching out to them, and I saw they were successful. I saw them at Laugh Factory and things like that. So I was like, hey, I just want to, get to know you guys. I'm not asking for a handout, just want to get to know you. And they had a show that they were running, like a weekly show in the suburbs. And they were like, dude, just come out and do a show, like come perform with us, which is not the norm in Chicago, by the way. You don't get people handing out spots like that. So I went there.
Yeah, comedy in general, anywhere, really.
Yeah, it's very, very cliquey, very toxic, a lot of peacocking, like trying to show how good you are. So these guys just gave me a spot right away.
Incredible.
I showed up, I did like 15 minutes, we hit it off. And then I just kind of got to know them. They helped me get up at Laugh Factory for a show, for my Laugh Factory debut a few months after. And then eventually I was just hanging out with them so much. They were like, do you just want to, like, I feel like you're already part of the group. And so I joined them like October of last year, did some lead up shows. We had our first official T5 show in January, sold out 200 seats in January. And yeah, now I'm part of the group, and we're on tour right now. So it's been exciting to kind of join in the acceleration process and be friends with these guys, but then also share that love of comedy that we have.
It's been incredible to watch. I mean, just from 2 years ago, before it was mid-pandemic, but before you really, I've been blowing up on social media. I've been watching your clips. They're just hilarious. But to see you, find this group, and that's kind of something that a lot of the comics that we may look up to, the Hassan Minhaj's, Fahim, they had goat face, I liken your guys' group to, that up and coming, the artists doing their thing, man. And it's been incredible to see. I've yet to have the opportunity to make it to a show. Unfortunately got busy during the Indianapolis leg, but definitely look forward to attending one soon. I encourage everyone watching, listening to follow Terminal 5 Comedy and all their members, including Zaid. They're doing really amazing things. So you just did St. Louis last night. Is Miami? No, Chicago. You're back home.
Yeah, so we got Friday and Saturday this weekend, August 5th and 6th at the Madison Street Theater. We got 2 shows for the Chicago leg. Really excited about that. That's going to be, super fun. We've never done 2 shows in back-to-back days. So that's really exciting. And then we got New York in September. And then we're going to kind of take a break, plan out what's the next move after that. We got some things that we're working on. We're not paused, but that was kind of the goal we set was, hey, let's do this leg. Let's do this leg of the tour, and let's see what we can do. Right. It was very nerve-wracking because we just decided, we weren't necessarily getting booked in these cities. We rented out venues and are selling tickets. Right. So like we rented out the venue in St. Louis. and we sold it out, which was amazing.
Yeah.
We partnered with Muslims of the World in Indianapolis, which made it a little bit more affordable for us to be able to go do that show. But for, like the New York show, we just rented a theater. We're selling tickets. Like
Mm,
it was a very, let's take the risk. Let's take the leap
yes.
and let's put our money where our mouth is and just see what we can do. So it's been nerve wracking, but it's been
Mm,
exciting.
mm,
There's high moments, there's low moments. If we don't sell out a show the way we thought we were going to, like there's that disappointment, but it's
mm.
all in the name of getting that process of just being like, hey, we're funny, we're good. Let's go show the world what we can do.
I love it, man. I truly do. And I mean, people, this is just now we're getting into, insider baseball stuff with comedy and, betting on yourself and the business side of things, which, I mean, I'm sure people listening, watching may be interested in, but that, I think you explained it exactly. You're putting your money where your mouth is. You're saying, we believe in our craft. Let's see what the people think. And there's no arguing there. It's like that thing of, build it and they will come. Right.
Exactly.
Um,
I said that phrase last night, actually. So that's amazing that you say that.
And I feel like that has to be any artists, no matter at any really level, but especially, starting out and grinding early on, that has to be the mantra, because like you said, no one gives you a handout, especially in this
Right.
business. You earn it. It's on your reputation, your name. And it's amazing to see, a group that you said, like-minded guys coming together and seeing the success. So more success to you guys, and definitely look forward to attending one of the shows soon. And I want to,
Thank you, man.
yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you. And you're welcome anytime, man. You just let me know and I'll have tickets waiting for you. I promise, man. We'd love to have you.
Awesome, bro. Awesome. Definitely appreciate you. And now, we're gonna just jump around for this. We
Sounds good.
all around, but basically, I know a bit about your origin story, but would really love for you to have the opportunity to share it with our current viewers and listeners. Zaid Fouzi's origin story. Where are you from, and what did your parents do?
Yeah, so I'm originally born and raised in Dayton, Ohio, more specifically Centerville, Ohio. So shout out to anybody from there. But was raised by my dad, who was born and raised in Syria, and my mom, who was born and raised in New Jersey. So I come from a mixed Arab white background, which provides this whole unique set of experiences that I love to talk about. But you know, one part of that was I was not very close with my white side of the family. I don't
Mm,
really know them. My mom's side of the family, we were never close with. And so we were
mm.
very close with my dad's side of the family. So we would go to Syria every year. So I grew up with a white mom feeling fully Arab, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Was
Which I
her
think is very,
family, was her side of the family more in New Jersey?
her side of the family. So she moved to Dayton when she was actually pretty young. So her family's all scattered around.
Okay.
There's a lot of tragic stories there, just what I know about my aunts and uncles and stuff like that. I've really only met her siblings one time in my life. Her dad died before I was born. I knew her mom for a few years, but her mom kind of disowned us a little bit. She became very, religious Christian and struggled to come to terms with us being a Muslim family and wasn't really able to support that. So there was, I did kind of grow up without that side of my family. But tremendously blessed that I had so many people in my life who stepped up from the communities in Dayton and really filled those roles for me. And so I don't feel like I missed anything. I had the same experiences. I got the same blessings. I'm not worried about it. But I did grow up going to Syria a lot and seeing them. So
Mm,
um, you know, born and raised in Dayton, lived there my whole life until I was 18. Went to Indiana University, proud Hoosier alumni. That's where I really started to dive into comedy. I joined the sketch comedy group there, the University Twits. Shout out to
mhm,
them if anybody's listening there. And I did sketch comedy. And kind
mhm,
of on the side, I always did stand up when I had the opportunity. And I
mhm.
always knew eventually I wanted to focus on stand up, but just didn't really know where to go with it.
Right.
And so towards the end of my senior year, I really started doing more stand up and making stand up a focus and writing more stand up and getting more comfortable on stage. Graduated in May 2019. And
Mm,
then that summer, I was in Dayton the whole summer. So I said, you know what? Let me just really give this stand up thing a shot. So I was
yeah.
performing around Dayton, ended up winning the local Dayton competition for that. It's called the fireworks competition. I think there's like 50 comedians that come through,
Mm,
and I was blessed to win. I had the chance to go to New York and perform at Gotham Comedy Club. And then, I just kind of was like, that was the first time where I was like, I think I'm good at this. Not even good. It's like, I feel like this is something I can be exceptional at, right? Like I felt a difference when I was on stage. And I don't mean that from like a cocky place. I just mean that from a confidence. It felt in my heart like this is my craft. This is where I can really excel. And then I moved to Chicago because I got a job as a consultant. And I'll be honest, when I moved to Chicago, I got caught up working, and stand up just kind of fell by the wayside a little bit. And then right before the pandemic hit, I went to New York. I performed at Stand Up New York, and it kind of woke up this thing in me that I was like, oh, I kind of miss doing stand up. And then we hit the global pandemic. So I ended up going a full calendar year without doing stand up. And I thought I was going to be done with it. And that caused a lot of difficulties mentally. I was going through a lot of mental health struggles in the early of 2021. And I didn't understand why. I thought maybe I needed to switch jobs, what I need to do and all this stuff. And I had a buddy of mine who's just like, dude, you got to get back into stand up. You got to get back. And so I started doing shows again. I started diving into it. I reached out to the guys from T5, and I just really started gaining momentum. And again, woke up this feeling of, this is what I'm good at. This is what I can do. This craft is something I feel passionate about. And so since then, it's been kind of taking the gloves off, taking off the shackles, and taking a leap of faith into this and diving headfirst and trying to figure out how to be successful in this. I'm still figuring that part out. And if I figure it out, I'll let you know, because I know that's the key question of how do you be successful in this? And you're doing an amazing job yourself. So, but that's kind of where I'm at now. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but that's what I would say my origin story is until this point.
Exceptional. Absolutely. Exactly. That's what I was looking for. You up to this point, right? It's a journey, right? And it's as cliche as it sounds, we're all in our own individual journeys. But the thing that I wanted to take away, for really the thing I highlight with all my guest stories, it's not one straight path, right? It's windy roads, it's back doors, it's all these sort of things, because that moment where the pandemic comes, you go a full year, some might say, well, and that's where it ended, or something else. You pursue a different career and your life changes. But the one thing is that your love of this craft, like you would say, you're obsessed with stand-up comedy. And I know you are, and I see it when you perform and in your work. You cannot not do that thing. You cannot live and enjoy your life without doing that thing. So I'm so glad, and we're all as audience members and fellow comics, so glad that you did get back into it and successful. Success is contextual, right? Depending on wherever you're at. And I'm just really happy for you as a friend, as a fan, and I know only even bigger and better things to come. And I'm just glad we get to capture you in this current moment.
Thank you. Yeah, I like how you said that. That's beautiful. That capturing us in this current moment, and I've been really trying to focus on that now. And I think I often get caught up, like you said. I think people think, oh, I want to do this, and so I have to. For me, I'm always thinking about I want to be super successful. Success is making a ton of money doing this. Success is doing all that stuff. But I think people often forget the context of time, and that time everything you do takes time, right? And so you want to be super, super successful, and you see these people who are super, super successful. Often, I think what we forget is there's a lot of time that was spent to get to that point, right? I look at Hassan Minhaj, right? He's
10 years at
older
least.
than me.
10 years at least.
Exactly. And I'm looking at Hassan Minhaj. He's one of my biggest inspirations. And I'm so far from where he is. That's a very easy thing to say, right?
He's almost 40. He's almost 40.
He's almost 40. And I also look and be like, well, I've only really been pursuing this for a year and a half. So let's look at everything we've been able to accomplish in a year and a half.
There you go.
Cool. Now imagine that times 10. And that's where the concept of time comes from. So for me, I think I'm really working on, and I'm working on it in therapy, and I'm working on it individually, is being able to appreciate the current moment and being able to appreciate the current part of my journey, and being grateful for this part of my journey, where I've come from and where I'm going. And I think as long as you're able to do that, then that means that you're obsessed with progress, you're obsessed with the craft, and not necessarily the end state, which I think is a really cool place to operate in, if that makes sense.
It is. And I think, like you said, it's the only way you can continue to be motivated. What's the next thing you're moving towards? And you think 6 months even 6 weeks ago, your biggest problem or your biggest,
Yeah.
stressor is not even exist anymore, or, things like that. But the one thing, something that we can at least relate, at least I think we still can, is we both, you have a full-time job. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is something, at different parts in the journey. This is something that a lot of, up and come artists, they got college degrees. We did the thing. And this is something that I can also relate to, working a full-time job and also pursuing comedy. So, from that angle, I just wanted to know, you know, how has that been for you? What has worked for you? And what tips would you give to someone doing the same?
Yeah. So, for context, I work as a private equity consultant, which is a pretty busy job. So I could be working anywhere from, sometimes it's an easy 40-hour a week, and sometimes it's a crazy 60 hours a week. It really depends. And so, I think what helped me was when I first started at the company,
Hmm.
I really focused on just earning a reputation there as somebody who's a go-getter, gets the job done. I spent a lot of time in the trenches building up a good reputation to get a lot of benefit of the doubt. So that way, now when I say, hey, I need to take Friday off because I have a show, I need to go do this because I have a show, it's met with, sure, whatever you need, because there's that level of trust that I'm still going to get the job done. So I think the first thing I'll say in balancing was really paying my dues and making sure that I built up that trust. And I didn't really talk about comedy right
Yep.
away. I didn't make it a focal point right away.
Hmm.
I kind of hid that part, not because I was embarrassed, not because they wouldn't like me, just because I wanted to show I'm a good worker, I'll get the job done.
Yeah.
So paying the dues is really important, first and foremost. And then two, remaining consistent in the job that you deliver and making sure you do a good job. But as far as balancing it, it's just structure your day and figure out what's important to you. So, if your life's a pie and you have like, social life, you have friends, if you want a relationship, you have family, you have your job, and you have your side hustle, right? And you can only change the proportions. You can't change the size of the pie. So for me, there's a lot of things that I sacrifice so that way I can pursue my other stuff. So, my day is like, typically I'll wake up like 5:30, go to the gym, come back, work until 5, 6 o'clock, eat dinner. If I have a show, go do my show. If I have another show, do another show. If I don't have shows, then it's either writing or it's doing podcasts or it's, meeting up with T5 and trying, writing sketches, or there's a short film I'm working on, like that type of thing. Right. And I fill that time there, going on TikTok live, whatever it means to boost, grow in some way, shape or form.
Creative.
And exactly. And then go to bed, wake up and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And what that means as far as sacrifice is, I don't have as much time to hang out with just friends or do casual friends, social life hanging out. I'm single. I don't really have a relationship. It's hard to maintain that. Those are the areas where, I have to sacrifice a little bit in order to maintain what I'm doing. So I would just say, like, figuring out what your priorities are. And honestly, like, if somebody is pursuing something, but one of their priorities is a relationship or one of their priorities is their social life, that's okay, right? For me, like, it's all about just prioritizing and figuring out what's important and being consistent, right? Being consistent and being honest with yourself. So, I know that I need to sleep, right? Like, I wish I could be one of those people who gets 3-4 hours of sleep a night and it's able to operate, but I can't. So I build my life around making sure I get enough sleep. I know I need to go to the gym. So I built that time in for going to the gym. Just like I said, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but
no, these other things which allow you to operate in your job, which allow you to be creative, these sort of things, they're not getting in your way, but kind of pushing that needle forward.
Right. It's just building a structured life and maintaining that and being consistent in that. And like I said, making sure that structure is sustainable. Because I could say, I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. every day to go work out. I get an extra 2 hours a day. Like, I'm not going to be able to do that forever, So that's what I'm saying. Just, sustainability, structure, consistency. That's how I would, phrase it.
Yeah. You start going 3 a.m., get stories like The Rock and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know how he does that, man. I mean, he does that because that's his full-time job, is being, looking like the thing. So like he's able to do that, which all power to him. Obviously, he's very successful, but not as realistic for some of us who work corporate jobs.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I'm glad to hear, obviously you earned the trust and your reputation in your career, but that's something that, a lot of people, and we're lucky, we're blessed that we got to get an education
Right.
as well, to have a job that's indoors, AC, some this with the heat going on. It's like, yeah, I'm very thankful for that. And a lot of people, they busting tables, door
Yeah.
people, these kind of things coming up and stuff. So I think that's great, and something that, I know personally can relate on a lot. So, and I really liked your pie analogy there, because you're right. You can't get any more than you have already. You have only,
Right.
everyone has the same 24 hours, right, in a day. For me personally, just like after graduating, because I did like my master's,
Hmm.
after being like done with school and like having the 9 to 5, I was like, wow, this is what it's like to have some actual free time,
Yeah.
because if you probably remember, like being in school, we were just constantly busy. So for me, just like after this past entering this summer, it's been like creating a schedule, whether
Right.
it's for content, for interviews, writing. When do you say you hit your stride for writing the best, and how do you do it? Are you like a notes guy? You like a journal? What do you like?
So I got to figure out a consistent way to write that, because for me it's very like, you know, spontaneous. I'll get
Yeah.
this tap on the head and I'm like, oh, this is a good bit, or something will happen. I'm like, oh, this is a funny bit. And I'll like workshop it and shift it.
Hmm.
Um, so for me, like it more happens pretty spontaneously from like talking to people or whatever. But I think one thing that I'm starting to do now is, now that I trust myself and I know that I'm funny and I know that I'm creative, is I pick topics that I want to talk about. And I'll
Mm,
sit down and I'll just start I live alone. So
interesting.
that's one nice thing, is that I
Oh
live alone. I can walk around my apartment and just start talking to myself. And I'll just start talking to myself until I make myself laugh. If I make myself laugh, cool. Let me write that down in my notes on my phone.
then you got
And I
something.
don't like,
Yeah. Wow.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't like to write word for word. I have like one of my
Mm,
good friends, Eunice. He's in
yeah.
Terminal 5 with me. Eunice likes to write his jokes word for word, almost like a script.
Wow.
And that's because his jokes are very crafty, very witty.
Mm,
He's very meticulous. He's very much an artist in the way that he does it. He also like makes music, so it makes sense the way his
right
brain
on.
works. So I'm not talking bad about that type of joke writing, because he's very successful in it. He's a funny dude, and again, I love seeing him do it because he's able to piece it together. It's very beautiful the way he writes his jokes. For me, it's more of like, I'm going to write down 4 or 5 general ideas in my notes section on my phone. And then I'm going to
Hmm.
go on stage. I'm just going to talk. I'm going to figure it out. I'm an
Yeah.
energy guy. So when I'm
You'll
on
find
stage,
it.
I'm like,
Hmm.
exactly. I'll find the pocket. I'll figure out the way it goes. Um, and so that's typically how I write, is I'm going to pick a topic. So, 2 things I'm talking about a lot now is like talking about my mental health issues and trying to
Mm.
make that funny,
Yeah.
which is a challenge of itself. And
Yeah.
then also, um, I figured out through TikTok and social media that there is quite a subculture of half white, half Arab people out there.
Yeah.
And we are very underrepresented in our communities, and that subculture is really important. And so now
Mm.
I'm trying to talk about that, and I'm writing jokes about that. And what's cool is when you start doing this, you can start
Hmm.
piecing together the ideas, because I'm realizing, oh, my struggle for identity is affecting my mental health. Let me bridge these and build a bigger bit. Like it's beautiful the way it grows. So for
Perfect
me,
transitions.
exactly. And so the writing aspect again is just figuring out what do I want to say to the audience. You give me 15 minutes on stage, what impact do I want to have? And riffing on that, talking to myself,
Hmm.
walking around, and like I said, I make myself laugh. I write it down.
Yeah.
Sometimes that turns into an amazing bit that I do on stage. Sometimes that's just a one-time open mic night thing that I try, and it never sees the light of day again.
But that's interesting. Yeah, you find on stage. A lot of people, they say, they write on stage.
Yeah,
Do you record every set you do?
not every set. Every performance I try to record, or at least like I'll bring my phone up there and I'll place it on the stool next to me and have the audio recording, just so I can hear the way I was talking,
Yeah.
because it's crazy, man. When you perform a lot, you try different things, and sometimes you find different pockets on stage. Like, for example, last night,
Hmm.
I had one of my friends when I got off stage last night be like, I think that's my favorite performance I've ever seen you do. And I felt really awesome about my performance because I found this cool
Mm,
pocket that I'd never really tapped in before. And I had this flow and this cadence to the way I was talking.
mm.
I've never done it before.
Wow.
And I really enjoyed it. And
With the
I
same
thought,
material you've performed before.
yeah, with the same
Yeah.
material I performed before. And so I was like, that's cool. I mean, it's a new bit that I've been working on for a while. So like it's it's not like I've overdone it and I'm still working on it, but still like with this joke, I think I found this cadence and this rhythm and this flow and the way that I could tell the story to build it up and hit the
Hmm.
punchline. Like I'd never performed it like that before. And so I just found this weird pocket on stage. I'm so glad I have the recording because now I can listen to it and be like, oh, okay, let me try to like mimic that. And oh, maybe this will work for this joke. And if I tell it in the same cadence, this joke will have a bigger impact now. Like that for me is the benefit of trying to at least audio record every single set I do,
Right.
if not video record, because I also like to get, kind of physical on stage and have a big presence.
Good act outs. No, you do. You do. Seriously. I mean, I love your joke. It's I'm gonna butcher the bit, but it's half my dad's hair. My mom is
Yeah.
white. Half my family is oppressive. Scary, and the other is Arab.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably honestly one of my favorite jokes I've ever written. I was really proud of that. There's different variations of that same thinking across a lot of jokes. I think that structure is pretty um somewhat common, but like that joke worked so
Yeah.
well. And I forget when I wrote. I think I wrote that in the summer of 2019. I wrote that
Oh wow. Okay.
when I was like, so
Back
that joke's
home.
been around for a while. Yeah, that joke's been around for a while.
Yeah. Did you guys do Dayton, or did you do a stop in Ohio yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
So I need to. I performed in Dayton individually a few weeks
Yeah.
ago
Mm.
at the Dayton Funny Bone. I had a set there. I was headlining one of their competitions that they were doing. So that was really cool to come home and perform. It was my first time performing in Dayton in 3 years.
Mm.
My dad brought out like 20 people from his office, all came to see me, and he came. He was in the audience, which was amazing. So that was really cool. I'm working on something. I'd love to bring T5 to Dayton and put on a show there and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, we put a few things on pause because we wanted to really have a short list of cities that we did up front.
Yes.
But Dayton's on the list for the next round, and I'm gonna make sure we do it.
Definitely. Well, I mean, perfect segue, because I wanted to get into your parents. Myself, I can relate to this sense in which, also coming from a Muslim, albeit Afghan, household. I was very lucky. My parents love stand-up comedy. It's really been something that we've all kind of been able to connect on. My dad and I especially too. So is that something? I guess I want to ask, how does your parents feel about you doing stand-up? And kind of what your relationship with them and what you love to
Yeah.
do is.
Um, so I am very uniquely blessed in a similar way that my parents are my greatest supporters. And like you know, I don't get emotional when I talk about it because I like they support me in every way in this dream, and they want that success for me as badly as I want it for myself. Um, and it makes my life so much easier because of that. Because I often feel like when you don't have that kind of support, you go looking for that support somewhere else and you
Mm,
find it in a non-authentic, non-genuine way. And
mm,
so for me, it's like my parents are so supportive of me, who I am and who I want to be, and in this craft that I can just be my full self.
yeah.
So if I post a clip on TikTok and I get the Haram police coming after me, my dad thinks it's funny. My dad's proud of me.
Yeah.
I don't care what you have to say. My dad is cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of support gives you such a sense of, you know, you feel grounded, you feel structured, you have this
Mm,
base below you that I have a home base that I can fall back on that just gives me that support. And it's really beautiful, and it's probably not easy for them. My dad's like, you landed off a plane and then you're going to drive to St. Louis. Like that type of stuff's tough for them. I also live away from them, so
right.
there's a lot of trust involved there. But you know all power to them. I'm incredibly blessed beyond belief of how supportive they are.
Yeah.
That said, my dad wasn't always supportive. When I first got to IU, I wasn't a very good high school student. And I wanted to get into the business school, and I didn't get in my first year. So I was going to have to work my way in my first year. And the first thing I did when I got on campus was join a comedy group. And my dad couldn't believe, like, he was like, what the hell are you doing, bro? Like, I'm trying to pay for your college education.
Oh man.
Join a comedy group. And my dad made me, since I was out of state, my dad made me sign a deal with him that was like, if I didn't get into the business school, I had to transfer. And so he was like, you better get into business school, man. He was like, you're going to do this comedy bullshit. Like, you better get into business school.
Right. Yeah, ultimatum on the line.
Yeah. Well, not to toot my own horn, but like, not only did I make it to business school, I got into the honors program and I did comedy. And what was really cool was my last show of my freshman year, my mom, my dad came to see me.
Oh.
And after that, like a couple weeks later, I got admitted to the business school. And like a week after that, I got admitted to the honors program. And like after that, my dad never batted an eye about it. My dad was 110% just supportive and everything. He loves showing my videos to people that he works with and things like that. So there's a lot of trust there, albeit trust that I had to earn. But my dad very much respects what I do and supports it and loves it. He doesn't always get it. He's not a big comedy guy. He's not a big stand-up fan, but he's present and he's supportive. And my mom is my number one fan beyond belief too. So I hope that answers the question. I just wanted to brag about them a little bit. They're pretty amazing.
Yeah, man. And I'm more blessings their way, your way, because not a lot people who come from where we come from usually don't have those blessings too. Like you said, it's very unique as well. So I'm glad to hear you have that. You have siblings, right?
Yeah, I have two siblings. I have an older brother who's 5 years older than me. He's 30, and my sister's 2.5 years older than me. So she's going to be 28 this year.
Okay, so you're the baby, so you could do whatever you want.
Yeah. My parents were just tired by the time they got to me. They were like, just don't die. Like, just don't die. Don't get arrested, and it'll be fine.
He's like, if I can just guide you to the Kelly school, I think they'll take care of you from there.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, just get me onto the next platform, the safety boat to take me.
I love it. Growing up, who inspired you? Who made you laugh the most? Who do you think informed your comedy sensibilities growing up?
Yeah, that's a great question. I kind of have it's probably going to be a cop-out cheesy answer, but it's true, and it's Kevin Hart. It's Kevin Hart fully. His first three specials, I'm a Grown Little Man, Seriously Funny, and Laugh at My Pain. It's funny how people forget that those specials exist. I think they're three of the best specials I've ever seen. I have them on DVD right over there.
Wow.
So I watch them at least, a couple times a year. They're amazing. So for me, watching Kevin Hart be so vulnerable and so open on stage was so beautiful for me to see. One important person that I don't want to skip over, actually. So if we rewind it, so I probably found Kevin Hart when I was like middle schoolish.
Right. That's
going
when
into high school.
These specials came out. He was like the hottest thing.
Exactly. A couple years before that, my first intro to stand-up comedy was actually Azhar Usman. I saw him in Dayton. He performed for my Dayton community, and it's the first time I'd ever seen stand-up. And it's this guy who's wearing a kufi with this Pakistani guy with a full beard, telling jokes about being Muslim. Wow. And there's a room of Muslims laughing. And that was the first time I really was like, whoa, I've never seen this before. And he did a tour with two other Muslim comedians called Allah Made Me Funny. And so when I saw him, I told him, I was like, that was funny. I think I was like 7, maybe 6 or 7 years old. I was a very young kid. And I was like, I want to do that. And so he signed a copy of this DVD and gave it to me when I met him.
They had a DVD?
They had it on DVD. And so I grew up watching that with my family, and I loved it. I thought it was the funniest thing. So that was my intro to stand-up. And then when I found Kevin Hart, I was like, oh, this is like a thing that they do. Like, this is a thing. And Kevin Hart was just so honest on stage, larger than life on stage. and just had this aura about him that everybody loved him. Everybody thought he was funny, and he could say whatever he wanted. And it was funny, and it was amazing. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is a feeling I want to chase. I love this. And so, found him,
Right.
loved him, and then I found Bill Burr was really big for me as well, because I'm just a big fan of him. And then probably the last 4 years, my biggest influence is Andrew Scholes. I would say he's my biggest inspiration. Obviously, there's a lot of respect to Hassan Minhaj, Fahim Anwar, these guys who broke a lot of the walls for us Muslim guys who are trying to do this. Or, I know,
Right.
Hassan is Pakistani, right? But like, I'm sure like as an Afghan, as a Syrian, you look at that and he's still our guy,
Right. Right.
So credit to him. But for me, like the biggest guy who
Right.
inspires me the most from like my stage presence and what I want to be is Andrew Scholes. I think he's
Yes.
out of this world.
And I know you're a fan of his and a fan of the artist Russ. And and did you hear what he said on Rogan about the Russ song?
I don't know if you see this. This is my customized Russ artwork that I had someone do for me. So that's how big of a fan I am of Russ. But sorry, I had to shout that out.
No,
but
exactly.
yes, I know what you're talking about. The Andrew Scholes credited Russ with kind of inspiring him in what he did.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I just thought that was a cool connection because you mentioned Schultz, you mentioned him, and I just had to bring that together because his whole thing was, what, the industry's not noticing me, I'm going to put out a song a week, right?
Yep.
Betting on yourself. These are the kind of things we need to remember, because you see Russ today, you see Schultz today, Kevin Hart today selling out baseball stadiums. You think that's unattainable, but then, and I'm glad you mentioned Kevin Hart. I listened to you talk about him before too, and like you said, not a lot of people really mention him because it's kind of like, oh, he's mainstream, he's got everything. But then if you knew his story, like those that know his story from Philadelphia with his mom, and like especially like making those things that are pretty traumatic, like growing up, your father in and out of prison, making those so funny is just like that's what we're all just trying to do, right?
Yeah, he really just like took the culture by storm, and relatability to the max. I think what made Kevin Hart so funny was that when he told these stories and he was vulnerable, he was relatable. And that's something I'm chasing right now with talking about being Arab Muslim, talking about mental health, talking about all these things. It's just the relatability. I want people to see me talk and see me make these jokes and be like, man, I struggle with the same thing. This makes me feel better about my struggle. I'm not alone. I feel a part of community. I feel, and I don't know where that comes from. My therapist says that I'm trying to make up for what I didn't have when I was a kid, maybe, but it's one of those things that's my ultimate goal, is to make people see the similar struggles and feel better about it and not feel alone, and be able to take a break from worrying about it for a little bit. Let me worry about your struggles for a little bit. And I think that's really cool. I think Kevin Hart did that, and that's my biggest takeaway from his stand-up.
Yeah. Have you seen Kevin Hart or Bill Burr, your inspirations, your heroes, you'd say, live?
I've seen Kevin Hart live. I saw him at a basketball stadium, which was just, and it was hilarious. It was on the Irresponsible tour, which I thought was his best special since Laugh at My Pain. I thought it was his most relatable special. I thought it was really, really great. He went through a lot of, before the Irresponsible tour, he went through a lot of, drama. There was like a scandal or whatever, the Oscars shit and all that stuff.
Right.
And so I thought that allowed him to kind of come back and give another vulnerable performance, talk about things that you probably wouldn't normally be comfortable talking about. And it was great. I've seen Scholes live twice. I've met him once. Incredibly nice guy.
That's right. You have. I remember.
Yeah. I saw him in Cincinnati, and then a few weeks later, right when I moved to Chicago, he did a pop-up at Zany's, and I was like front row, and was like, and I met him after the show, and I was able to talk to him for a little bit, and just a super genuinely nice guy, like really, really loves comedy and wants to see other people succeed, which I think is the coolest thing to see. I've not seen Bill Burr live. It's a dream of mine. I want to make it happen. But I that's something I want to do for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's incredible. And I would say the same things about, the people I enjoyed growing up. And it's funny you mentioned the Allah Made Me Funny guys. I didn't really know about them as much as I knew about the Axis of Evil guys. Um,
Yeah.
Maz Jobrani, Ahmed, that group, similar, Muslim comedians. I feel like them and these guys definitely were the first of their kind, paving the way,
Yeah.
right?
A lot made me funny was the break. Like it was right after 9/11. Like these guys were like, this was
Wow.
like 2002,
Okay.
2003. Like
Okay.
when we were not doing well, when PR was at an all-time low for us Muslims out here, these guys decided, let's do a comedy tour. And like again, like the weight of that, I don't think I ever fully appreciated it until now. Like the weight of like, could you imagine post 9/11 America? We're just about to invade Iraq, and like these guys are going on tour, and like it's amazing. And what was really cool is I actually told that story for a like an Instagram takeover that I did a few months back, and
Uh-huh.
and actually Azhar followed me on Instagram after that and like messaged
Hey.
me and was like, hey man, that's so cool, thanks for sharing that story. Like you follow me on Instagram, we don't talk or anything like that, but it was just to have that guy who planted the seed of comedy in my brain follow me on Instagram, and we chatted for a little bit in the DMs. Like that was so cool to me. I was like, man, this is incredible.
There's something so beautiful about like this craft, like stand-up comedy. Like what I found, interviewing people like Maz, Roy Wood Jr., and like Fahim, like people that we consider established. They've made it. That's the goal, to
Mhm.
work. Uh, they're like, everyone's just a comic. Everyone's just a
Yeah.
comic across the board. Doesn't matter. You're 2 years in, 10 years in, 20 years in, because it's just that's inherently the business. As Jay Leno once put it, like it's the only part of show business that doesn't need any of the other BS of show business, really. It's just
Yeah.
you and your written ideas and a mic. And I think that's, for you to get the recognition from him, is beautiful. I'm glad that he was able to see that. And that's, it's something I found along my own journey too, is at any level, you just talk to someone, you can tell them, what they meant to you, and they'll say, welcome, welcome to this band of misfits.
Yeah, I think it's the attitude that you approach it with is the most important thing, because I do know comics who are not like that, right? I do know comics
Mm,
in Chicago. Like I would say this, most of the scene in Chicago feels very standoffish and don't talk to me. You're not one of us, like one of those
mm,
things. And I face a lot of backlash there, which really bothers me. But the reason it bothers me so much is because I see the super successful comics and they're humble
yeah.
and they're welcoming, and as long as you get it and as long as you pay your dues and you show your respect, they're more than they'll treat you like a comic. Like I've never,
Yeah.
the most successful people I've interacted with have been the most humble. And so for me, it's like it's tough to walk around the scene sometimes in Chicago and you just see these comics acting like they're larger than life, and you're like, bro, like I have more Instagram followers than you. What are you talking? Like, what are you like? You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you have 800 Instagram followers. Stop acting like you're like a cool guy.
Oh
Like,
man.
and
But
again,
it's
that
the it's
that stuff.
the successful ones, and sorry to cut you off, but like that's, I think
We're good.
this what you're speaking on is that the successful ones, the ones that made they're most beloved by their
Mhm.
contemporaries. They have friends in the industry. You guys are a group of friends. You've made friends in this industry.
Yeah, and they're happy for each other and they support each other. Like when Chris Stefano dropped his special on Netflix, Nimesh Patel put out a story like congratulating him. Like, and that was before Nimesh wasn't able to sell his special. Remember, Nimesh put it out himself.
Yep.
Which
Thank you,
again,
China.
yeah, thank you, China, which is great special. Kudos to Nimesh. I love Nimesh.
Yeah.
He's replied to a few of my DMs as well before. I think
Yeah.
I
He's
think
the
he's
man.
I'm definitely just a fanboy for him. But what was cool is the Stefano sells it to Netflix, and the first thing the mesh does is show love and show respect. You see Rogan
100%.
celebrating Andrew Schultz and
Yeah.
promoting his special. Like
Right.
that for me is the ultimate goal. Is like I always want to be able to show love, and I always want to be able to celebrate. If you love the craft, you will celebrate success within the craft. Like you don't need to keepsake it and guard it, and like funny is funny, bro. Like just because Sohile Ali like sells out Madison Square Garden one day, right? That doesn't mean I can't. It's not you taking away that opportunity from me. Why would I not be super happy for you? That's you sell it out on a Friday, I'll sell it out on Saturday. Like,
There you
you know what
go.
I'm saying? Like there's there's always room
There's
for
enough to go
more.
around. There's enough to go
There's enough
around.
to go around. This is one of the very unique spaces where you can make the pie bigger. The pie can always get bigger. You know, this is a very unique opportunity. It's the same thing in music, right? Just because I listen to Russ doesn't mean I can't listen to Drake. That doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
yeah, you're gonna have your favorites, but like, you know, Russ can still go platinum with someone else going platinum, right? I can still sell tickets if you sell tickets. It's not like someone's like, well, I went and saw Sohile, so I'm not gonna be able to go see Zaid. That doesn't compute. So trying to, you know, safeguard or protect your little corner of comedy doesn't make sense to me. Share it, share the love, share. Like, the whole point of this is to make people laugh. Why are we acting like this is some strategic war? Like, we tell dick jokes into a microphone. Like,
that's something I really was a moment of an aha moment, for lack of a better word, when like first doing open mics, when I'm like, okay, how does this like stand-up thing work? You know, I watched all these podcasts, like, how do you really start? You know, and then like, oh, go to your local open mic, and you know, but like that's like a third of it. The rest of it is find your tribe, or you know, it's navigating those things too. You know, it's the craft, but it's also the craftsmen as well. But you have always, and I want to, you know, show love back as we are, but you've always, you know, showed love to me just over social media. Anything I was ever doing, you've always shown that love, and so I really appreciate it. And to get that message, that extra like recognition from someone that you also respect, that can, I like live off that for like the next week. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always say, like, what's my next like crumb or whatever to like live off of, whether it's like you said, someone DMs you back that you really love, whatever that is, it can keep you going so much. And I think it's important at whatever level you're at to give flowers. And we mentioned Kevin Hart so much. Did you see what he did on stage with Chris Rock and Chappelle?
Yeah, he bought him the goat. He bought him the goat, named it Will Smith. That was so funny. That was so funny.
Said,
did you see what Dave Chappelle said? Do you hear what Dave Chappelle said, where he just goes, make sure, what did he say? It's better, you should have bought him a sheep or something like that, because he was like, goats eat the grass from the roots and sheep just skim off the top. Kevin Hart goes, Dave, what the fuck does that mean? It was just like this hilarious interaction between some of the greats.
Oh my God, dude. Imagine that was, I think that was at the Garden, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, it's relevant. It's a recent thing that happened, and it speaks to, I mean, he didn't have to do that, but he loves the craft. He loves his fellow craftsmen so much to do that. So yeah, I thought we had to mention that. But Zaid, brother, we could go so many different angles with this, because I know we're both like comedy nerds. I know you're also you know, we're in the weeds of this thing, you know. But if I were to ask you, you know, who or what in general inspires you today, because I always look at the difference between being inspired and being like motivated. Clearly you're motivated. You know, you have your routine schedule, and you've had that taste of success, and you guys are going to keep, you know, pursuing it. So I would say in that realm, thinking about those things, inspiration, motivation, who or what keeps you going?
In a few different things, I would say, and I hope this doesn't come off as selfish or cocky. So if it does, let me rephrase it so I don't get canceled. But every time I perform at a show like last night, where we sold it out, I don't care if it was 20 seats, I don't care if it's 150 seats or 1,000 seats. Anytime that you sell out a venue and you go on and the show goes well and you're proud of your performance, the inspiration that comes from yourself is really beautiful. Because it's like, if I can do that, I could do something. There's more. You know what I'm saying? It's like you find another gear, and as soon as you shift gears, you realize there's one more. I just have to figure out how to get there. So I know that now. And so those little crumbs, like you said, finding what you're gonna live off for the next week, right? So for me, it's the St. Louis show. I'm gonna live off that to the Chicago show. Then I'll live off that to the New York show. Like these little crumbs. When you find these different gears and you realize you have more. So I know I have more in the tank. I know I have more, and it's just now finding it and scraping it off the top. That's the inspiration that really I come from within, where I'm able to kind of inspire myself, if that makes sense. As far as external inspiration, for me, it's just seeing people make things happen for themselves is one of my most exciting things. So right now, one thing that really is driving me is Andrew Scholes, where he put out his own special, sold it. You know, the streamer that was originally supposed to have the special decided, you know, we don't like some of these jokes. You have to cut some of these jokes. So he said, fuck that, bought his special back and sold it himself and made his money back. That's incredibly inspirational to me. Is seeing somebody put their money where the mouth is and find success. So for me, it's something I want to do as well. It's part of the thing that keeps me going. I'm like, well, if he can do that, eventually I can do that. So, you know, that's extremely inspiring. I don't know if that answered the question, but I think those are probably the two things: is seeing other people do what they love, put their money, take risks, and see it pay off. And then also, whenever I have, you know, a little bit of success, it fuels me to find the next piece. All right, there's more there. Just keep digging. Just keep digging. I'm gonna find it. And that's not always easy. There's some times, man, where I get bad writer's block, and you feel like the least funny motherfucker in the world. There are times where I'm like, dude, I'm done. I'm tapped out. I don't have any more material. I haven't written a new joke in 2 weeks. I'm a lazy piece of shit. Like, you just, all the bad talk comes on, and then you find one more good bit, and you're like, I'm funny as hell, bro. Like, you're like, you know, the ups and downs are constant, but it's just being able to hold on to those highs and remember those in the moments that can be pretty inspiring.
Well, again, as a friend, as a fan, as someone, you know, on their own journey as well, it's always inspiring for me to see you, what you're working on, and I just encourage you, keep at it, brother, because you're inspiring more than you may realize, and it's beautiful to see. And I encourage anyone watching, listening, please follow Zaid. All his social media will be linked in the description box, and follow Terminal 5 Comedy as well. Catch one of their shows. You won't be disappointed. We could talk for an entire day, but I want to make sure you can settle in there at home and get ready for the week and all those things. But the first of many, Zaid Fouzi, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Sohile. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Real quick, before you click away, thanks so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Click right here to subscribe to my channel for all future videos, and click right here to check out this video over here. Have a great one.